Attention. Trump orders radical changes in immigration. I'm going to tell you about the 9 most important changes that include detentions, deportations, the Mexican border, visas, green cards, birthright citizenship, humanitarian parole, TPS, and much more. We are Hotelite News, and as you know, Trump took office less than 2 days ago and subsequently signed multiple executive orders and proclamations, and in these documents, there were a lot of changes. We've been studying them carefully, and these are the 9 most important changes. 1. The first very important measure is that the southern border of the United States with Mexico is being closed. The president ordered several measures, such as the intervention of the armed forces to achieve total operational control at the border. This includes everything, including tasks in detention centers, logistics, and transportation. Additionally, they will build additional physical barriers, as the order states, expand the use of drones at the border, and review policies and strategies to prevent the entry of undocumented immigrants. Furthermore, the president declared a national emergency, and the process to return millions of immigrants to their countries of origin will begin, according to the order. Regarding the border, the catch and release policy is also ending. This means that undocumented immigrants detained while crossing the border will no longer be released while waiting for their immigration cases to be resolved. Additionally, a program from the president's previous term called Remain in Mexico, also known as MPP, is returning. This means that those who request asylum at the southern border of the United States with Mexico will not be able to enter the country to wait for their case. Finally, regarding the border, CBP-1 has been canceled. What is CBP-1? It's this application for undocumented immigrants who don't have papers and wanted to go to the border to surrender to authorities to schedule their appointment at the southern border of the United States with Mexico. And this application has been canceled, which means that people who had an appointment scheduled with CBP-1 will also have those appointments canceled. Many of you have already been receiving emails announcing that your appointments were canceled. I mean, the people who had one of these appointments waiting. To change number 2, end of humanitarian parole, something that immigration experts had anticipated. President Trump terminates the humanitarian parole for Venezuela, Nicaragua, Cuba, and Haiti. What is parole? Well, this was a program that allowed immigrants from these 4 countries to legally enter the United States for 2 years with the possibility of requesting a work permit, etc. Well, Trump has just signed an executive order giving instructions to cancel the program. This parole benefited a lot of people, more than 700,000 people from these 4 countries. And there were millions of people in these countries waiting for their humanitarian parole process. Change number 3, attention, end of birthright citizenship for certain immigrants. The order signed by the president states that citizenship will not be granted to children of undocumented mothers whose parents are not U.S. citizens or permanent residents at the time of the child's birth, nor to children of mothers who are legally in the United States at the time of birth but with a temporary permit, such as a tourist visa, when the father is not a citizen or resident. Examples of temporary permits include not only tourist visas but also student visas, F1, work visas, and also the visa waiver, TPS. However, some argue that the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants citizenship to anyone born on U.S. territory, period, without further requirements. And although the Constitution says this, obviously this presidential measure will face a lot of judicial challenges and lawsuits. What happens is that, in the meantime, the Trump administration might not issue passports to children born when these conditions are met, nor Social Security. The federal government will also not recognize the validity of state documents that recognize these children's nationality. This measure I just told you about regarding the end of nationality will take effect within 30 days. So all children born before the 30 days will not be affected by this measure, which is a good thing for now. You paid of the previous point. This point is in dispute since a judge ruled it as unconstitutional and blocked it. It is not known whether temporarily or definitely since this law is protected. For asylum at the United States border, the president declared that there is an invasion and therefore suspended the entry of immigrants who are involved in the considered invasion. He also suspended the possibility of requesting protection for people who enter without permission and who want to enter without medical documents and without their criminal records or background checks. These people will not be able to request asylum if they don't have these documents. The measure also orders the expulsion, repatriation, and also states deportation of immigrants in this situation. And attention here because there could be good news for those who can request asylum regarding the president declaring Mexican drug cartels, the Tren de Aragua, and MS-13, which is a gang, as terrorist organizations, and also states that Mexican drug cartels function as a quasi-governmental organization in Mexico. So if you have an asylum case, withholding of removal, or protection against torture, this measure could help you when you're persecuted by the cartel. So attention for those requesting asylum. 5. Change number 5. Very important, end of deportation priorities. What does this mean? It means that now all undocumented immigrants are susceptible to deportation, but attention, as the government doesn't have unlimited resources to focus on all immigrants. They will focus first on people who have crimes and people who already have a deportation order. But well, if they detain any person who, even if they don't have a crime, if they don't have a deportation order, if they don't have documents, they could also be detained and eventually deported. So the final objective is to deport all undocumented immigrants. But as they don't have so many resources, they will start with those who have crimes or deportation orders at this time. Explaining this point clearly, if you noticed, that change was crazy because all undocumented immigrants are now targets for deportation. Now targets for deportation. Now, due to not having sufficient resources, they will focus only on the bad ones at first. But if they come across someone who doesn't have documents in a raid, they'll go to. In other words, their objective is to remove all those who don't have documents, but they will primarily start with those who have crimes. For example, they go to a house where there's a person who has a deportation order or crimes, and if within that same house there are 5 people who don't have papers, they'll go to. 6. Change number 6. It is ordered that countries that don't accept deportees may have visa issuance suspended and even face sanctions. This is very relevant, very important, for example, for Venezuelans outside the United States who want any visa in case Maduro's dictatorship continues not receiving Venezuelan deportees. Attention with this. 7. Change number 7 regarding TPS. What is TPS? It's a temporary protected status for people from certain countries suffering from some political or climatic crisis. And it's a protection that prevents deportation and gives you the right to a work permit. Well, here they want to implement TPS according to the text of the law that allows it in the sense that it should be something temporary and not something indefinite, with multiple and infinite extensions. There are people who have lived for decades with a TPS in the United States when it's supposedly something temporary. Therefore, it will be more restricted, which means it's unlikely that current valid TPS will be extended. However, I want to bring calm. We need to wait for more details when these orders I'm telling you about right now are regulated. This is what is known for now. Explanation of this point. Basically, TPS is a permit given to people from countries with political problems or other issues, for example. El Salvador has many people with TPS. It means he wants to stop at all costs TPS from becoming something more, like residency, citizenship, or something like that. And besides, he doesn't want to renew them anymore. Change number 8, attention with this, very important. Delays in any immigration process from now on. Why? Because every time a president changes, whoever it may be, there are always resignations and retirements of USCIS officers in the administration, in government agencies, in consulates, etc. As I'm telling you, from a consulate in some country outside the United States, and also in other immigration agencies. This, in addition to another executive order from the president that freezes new hiring for now. What effect will this have? Well, it will have an effect on the granting of visas, green cards, and work permits, and any type of petition you make to USCIS or consulates. In other words, what we're seeing that's going to happen is that we'll have to assume there will be more delays in these procedures. It remains to be seen if that ends up happening, but the conditions are set for things to be delayed. 9. Refugees. The entry of refugees is temporarily suspended. It will be suspended from January 27th, 2025, until it is reevaluated. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more immigration updates. Hit that notification bell to stay informed about the latest changes affecting your immigration status. Your support helps us continue providing this vital information to our community. Join our growing family of informed subscribers today.